This podcast provides a platform to discuss important questions and complex issues, challenge the status quo, and confront the boundaries of the establishment. I'm retired police chief Daniel Hahn. I went from being arrested at 16 to serving over 34 years in law enforcement. My goal is to keep you informed with news not being reported, voices not being heard, and the untold history of how we got here so that we can create a way forward. So a way forward is a philosophy in my mind that is a way that together we can find a way to make tomorrow better for our entire community. So years and years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, I guess you could say I was growing frustrated with the progress that we were making as a society, as a community, if you will. And it just seemed like the same problems were persisting year after year. And so I decided I'd do some history research and figure out more than what I knew at the time. What is causing neighborhoods to be impoverished the way they are and stay that way for years and years? What is causing some of these things that we see in our community that contributes to the rise in violent crime and destroyed families and things like that? And so I started doing history research and became infatuated because it started to explain so many things about the neighborhood I grew up in Oak Park that I never knew. Through all the schooling I went through being raised in that community, I did not know the history of my own neighborhood and how it became an impoverished neighborhood that was high crime. I learned the history of Del Paso Heights and the other communities, and it started to explain so many things. And it also gave me hope because these were not inevitable issues in our community. These were issues that were human-made, that leaders, the decisions that leaders made created these communities to be what we see them as today, which also gives me hope that human beings, us, together, can make our communities better if we address the root causes of how we got here. So a way forward is really understanding the truth, having real conversations with each other and differing opinions so we can expand our experiences, expand our knowledge, so we can come up with real solutions that save lives, that enable dreams, and allow people to thrive in every one of our communities, not only in Sacramento, but across the country. So a way forward is really, how do we have truth, honest conversations together and move forward together in a world right now that is very divided. And anytime we disagree with each other, we attack each other personally instead of trying to understand what the other person is saying and then having that conversation. So a way forward is really, in my mind, the best way to make tomorrow better for all of us. The impediments to a way forward is really, one, right now we're in a very divisive environment. And so we're so married to our thinking, we're not even willing to listen to somebody else that might have another way of doing things or might have some experiences that we don't have. The other thing is we don't work together. We don't. We want that quick solution. We want that idea that's going to help me either get elected or move forward in my own personal life. We're not selfless enough to take the time to find long-term solutions, because the contributing factors to why our communities are the way they are years and years and decades and centuries in the making. There is no one solution that's so simple that tomorrow we will be in a better spot. It's going to take time, it's going to take collaboration, and it's going to take a desire to improve our lives, our communities for the long term, not just for 15 minutes or for tomorrow. I just think we have to create environments where there's trust and are safe for people to share their opinions. Because I think most of the time, for example, when I talk about the history of our communities, a lot of times in certain conversations, people feel like they're being blamed or they're being attacked. So I take a purposeful approach that I'm not blaming anybody. It's just our history, and we have to understand it in order to understand how we got here. And so I think the critical thing is that we create environments where people are willing to give their opinions. Oftentimes they're ignorant opinions because they've never been taught that, or they don't have those sort of experiences, and they have to be able to get it off their chest in order for them to learn. I can't tell you how many times in the sessions where I facilitate about history, people come up with this like look on their face of almost like wonder, where they'd never heard of that before. And it feels like probably the way I looked when I did that original research, where it explains so many things and the light bulbs start going off. And person after person comes up after these sessions saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about my own community. So there's always these natural questions of why should we go over this history? Isn't that just an excuse of why I haven't been more successful? But I actually think it's the opposite. It shows people how we got here, and it shows that it's not inevitable. It shows that human beings oftentimes created the environments we live in, and not always on purpose, but just not having the experience and the thoughtful action enough to ensure that we don't cause harm. Yeah, we're going to have conversations with anyone. Anyone that cares enough to express their thoughts about how we can move forward in a better way, whether they're people that I would agree with or disagree with. I want to have those conversations because I think that's the only way that we can move forward in a long-term healthy way, is that we're willing to listen to other opinions, because, we might be wrong. We might learn something from somebody else that has experiences different than ours. So we're going to have any guest that cares enough about their community to have an opinion how to move forward is welcome on the show to express what they think. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be hard questions. That doesn't mean that there won't be disagreements. I think disagreements are healthy. I can tell you I didn't always agree with the things my mom did, especially when she was whooping me. So, but they were all still healthy. So we're going to have honest conversations with people that want to a better tomorrow for all of our community. I actually don't think the purpose is to get agreement. I think the purpose is to expand people's experiences, because we're all unique in our own experiences. And the more well-rounded we are, the more we can better understand whether it's people or community or neighborhoods different from the ones we grew up in, the more well-rounded our solutions are going to be, and the more we're willing to work with each other. So I think the goal is to really expand people's experiences, give them knowledge and experience that they didn't have before listening. And that's always a good thing for all of us. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Way Forward, and I look forward to the conversations and experiences that will benefit all of us, including myself, and will help our communities move forward.